you're going to end up going live to Periscope and Twitter, then YouTube, and then Facebook.
Hang on. Victor, are you able to access Twitter and just retweet my Twitter? Because it's hard to reconfigure. So we're live now on Twitter. But if you just retweet mine, it'll go out through Bernie or Bust. And 1 second. Here we go. And we'll be live in just a minute. And Michael, I'm not seeing video here.
Oh my God, what happened?
He's saying, wait a minute. I'm seeing live with no...
Kelly's words went to Kelly Conway somehow.
No, don't confuse those.
You live on Twitter?
Yes, but Facebook, I'm seeing sound and no video. I'm seeing a thumbs up from someone. Hello? Sorry, we're having a video difficulty.
I'm just going to retweet this.
Okay.
Done.
Oh, someone's saying they see all of us. For some reason, I don't, but I think we're okay.
Yeah, you are live.
Okay. You see us on Facebook? Okay.
Ready?
Hopefully everyone can hear and see all of us.
I don't know where it's at. Where's it at, by the way?
It's on Facebook, on the Real Progressives page, Facebook page. So welcome to Revolutionary Roundtable. I'm Kelly Lane.
And I'm Victor Tiffany.
And we're here tonight with CFAR candidate Wendy May, who is actually here in North Carolina, not too far from me. And also we're joined by Janice Dickinson Allison. I have that right?
You got it wrong. Right.
Wow.
Janice Covington.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. Just change your name. Don't worry about it.
It's Dixon or Sorry, Dixon or Dickinson?
Neither.
It's
Janice
Covington Allison.
Okay. Oh, Covington. I'm so sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. So we're going to start with a little bit of discussion about CFAR and why Wendy May signed CFAR. So, Victor, I'll let you.
Yeah, before we begin with the interview, we're just going to have a few announcements. First, the program is Revolutionary Roundtable, Theory and Practice. The theory is leverage. We're trying to really compel candidates to sign the contract for American renewal. They may not want to, and we may figure out ways to get them to. So we have an assignment for those of you who want to be involved. This is activism. So we want viewers of this program to reach out to one candidate this week. I believe we pronounce his name Chuy Garcia. He's running for Congress. We want him to sign the contract for American renewal. His email address, if you can grab your pens and pencils, I'll repeat it. It's Chuy, C-H-U-Y, at Chuy for Congress. So it's C-H-U-Y at C-H-U-Y-F-O-R Congress.com. Reach out to him. Send them to our website, which is now devoid of malware and other malicious software that we had last week. And that is CFAR2018.us. So email Chuy. Again, that's Chuy at Chuy4, Congress.com. Ask him to sign the contract for American renewal. Let him know he can pick as many of those 11 policy positions as he wants to use. And then he probably won't get back to you. It's just an email. So follow it up the next day and tell him if he doesn't want to sign the contract for American renewal, we'll ask his opponent in the primary coming up this month. His opponent's name is Richard Gonzalez, Gonzalez. If Chuy won't sign the CFAR, we'll ask Richard Gonzalez to sign the CFAR. So that's my first announcement. The second announcement, I'm very excited. Next week, we're going to have Jamaro Thomas on, and we will be discussing the political pamphlet online, the free political pamphlet online called One Party Planet. So if you want to really understand and get a grasp of the conversation we're going to have with Jamaro next week, we strongly encourage you to go to One Party, search using your browser, search One Party Planet. It's a 60-page political pamphlet. It takes you maybe 2 hours to read. And you'll better benefit from our conversation next week. Yeah, we're assigning homework because this is activism, and we want to make sure we're all on the same basis for this theory of leverage moving forward. We want to know what we're up against. And the One Party Planet describes the neoliberal world order better than anything else I've encountered. So I'm going to begin the interview soon. There might be a question that I'm going to ask of Wendy that maybe she'll give the right answer, maybe she won't give an answer that fits in with a real progressive monetary theory that we embrace here. Either way, we strongly discourage going to her Facebook page and trying to lecture her or tell her what the right way to think is. Real Progressives is working on a tutorial to follow up these interviews for the candidates who give an answer that doesn't fit in with the modern monetary theory. And we'll present that to them so that they can better understand modern economics, modern political economics, and going forward, have that knowledge base that they can use in order to better answer questions like that. So, with no any further ado, again, my name's Victor Tiffany. I'm with Revolt Against Plutocracy, the activism pillar of Real Progressives, and I'm joined tonight by Wendy May, running for Congress in North Carolina. Wendy, tell us what district you're running in.
Well, good evening, and thank you, for the opportunity to speak with you. I am Wendy May, and I am the progressive candidate running in the 2nd Congressional District of North Carolina for the U.S. House of Representatives.
The 2nd District. And tell us a little bit about yourself. Take a few minutes to just sort of give us your background and why it is you're running for Congress.
Well, and my background is quite simple. I'm a faith leader, an advocate, a public servant, and a 100% disabled American veteran. And wherever there's an injustice for one, there's an injustice for all. And our present Congress, working with number 45, have created an injustice. They have set us back in every civil right, every type of right. They set us back to the 1950s, before I was even born. So where there's an injustice for one, there's an injustice for all. And therefore, that's the reason I'm running. I'm running because I strongly believe in the progressive movement. And I was a Bernie delegate, and I'm proud to say I was.
And then please tell us why you decided to go ahead and sign the contract for American Renewal.
Well, signing the contract was actually very simple. It saw all the points that I believe in. And when you look at it, and you look at the amount that it required to get put on there, 63% or better, we're talking about crossing party lines. We're talking about people agreeing, not based upon the little r or the little d. They're basically agreeing on an issue. And this is what my issue is. My issues are about issues, not about anything else. They're all about issues. The issues fall into 4 categories: equality, education, the economy, and our environment. And those 11 points hit on every single one of those. So it really didn't take me much to do it.
I understand. So there's some pretty high-priced points among those listed: free college education, addressing the infrastructure with probably at least $1 trillion. Since you signed it, we've modified it and set a threshold of $2 trillion. And then, of course, Medicare for all, is all of which are very high-priced items. You're really just a tax and spend liberal, aren't you?
Absolutely not. Because I'll tell you why. All of those things already cost us money. And if it's properly managed, Victor, we can actually start taxing people who we're not taxing, and we can pay for those things. Right now, our infrastructure, our rail and our highways, there's already taxation on that. That money needs to be used to improve our infrastructure. There's already infrastructure taxes on every infrastructure that's already out there. So really and truthfully, it's just about having the right way to manage. And that is not what Donald Trump, number 45, wants to do with his infrastructure program.
Indeed, it's not. Tell us which of these 11 policy positions you're going to stress the most, whether you're in a debate or you're on the stump or you're in an interview situation, perhaps with a local media person. Which of those 11s, and it doesn't have to be one, if it's 2 or 3, that's fine, but which of those 11 policy positions are you going to really embrace and emphasize in your campaign?
Well, first of all, I embrace them all. Okay, I'm a union member, and I believe in livable wage. So that is a very big issue. I'm a veteran, so I believe in universal health care because we need it. Infrastructure. I live right along Interstate 95 and the great rail line that runs north and south and east and west. And I can tell you these are problems. So I also rely very strongly on benefit structure. And I also believe in taxation for the rich and for corporations. So there are issues right there. If we're going to have a fair country, we have to have a fair tax system. If we want infrastructure, we have to have the money to do that. If we want universal health care, we need to be able to plan something, be it Medicare for all, be it demanding universal health care. It has to be something. I'm in favor of a nonprofit health insurance system.
All right, and how are you going to use this contract, the contract itself? Whether you are you going to make use of it in your debate, in your primary
Absolutely.
debates? Are you going to put it on your website? Are you going to set out a press release indicating to the media that you're a CFAR candidate? So tell us how you're going to actually make use of this contract.
Well, first of all, I've already had forums, and at the forums, I identified that I'm a CFAR candidate. I'm a candidate with a contract. I'm a candidate who strongly believes that we need to take the smoke and mirrors out of politics, and we need an equal playing ground. So, we have an organization called the DCCC. They don't want a playing ground that's equal. They want to preserve their seats and bring friends similar. So, I'm using that contract fully. It's a shame we have to do this, but we've let government and politics become so corrupt that this is the only thing we can do.
Well, I appreciate your answer. That's more comprehensive than most CFAR candidates convey. Finally, one last question. Why Wendy May instead of one of your opponents or any of your opponents? Why would you think voters should choose you as their representative in Congress instead of someone you're running against in the primary?
Quite simple. I have a heart. I care about the poor and the working poor. My opponents are a millionaire and an establishment candidate. So if you want the same old, if you wanted the man I'm running against, hopefully in November, is George Holdley, who lives out of the district, who's out of touch, who's a millionaire. If that's what you want, elect either of the other two. But if you want somebody that's going to go to Washington, D.C. and is going to stand up against big corporations and against the political bloc that has created what we have today, then you need to elect me because I am that candidate.
Wendy, I appreciate your time tonight. Thanks for joining us, and we will continue this conversation in just a moment.
Okay, this time I will get your name right. Janice Covington Allison. Sorry about that. So glad that you could join us. And you're also in North Carolina. You're near Charlotte, right?
Right, Charlotte, Mecklenburg County.
And the two of you have known each other a while?
Oh, yeah, for a couple of years since she migrated south.
So, yes, I was very taken with your multiple Facebook posts about the DCCC and some of the issues that you said you've been sort of bringing that to people's attention for years now about the DCC, but just about how the establishment Dems are really trying to keep the progressives down. And so I thought that you might really want to come on and elaborate and talk about that and your experience in the state?
Well, I have seen over the years, I've been part of the North Carolina Democratic Party since 1971. And, back in the day, we pretty much had a level playing field. We didn't have interference from the DCCC, the DSCC. We didn't have interference from party leaders by endorsing before the primaries. And now it's like the wild, wild west. We have party leaders from county chairs on up endorsing candidates before the primary, and that was a no-no back in the day.
Janice, when did that start? Do you recall exactly when that sort of started taking that transition started happening?
I would say that probably started pretty heavy in the last 4 or 5 years. It was like a golden rule. We didn't endorse anybody.
Mm-hmm. Now, you said that you were a Hillary supporter early on, and then you learned some things that changed your mind.
Yeah. I was on the national steering committee for Hillary, the transgender community. We had a national steering committee for Obama, and then when Hillary came into the picture for 2016. We established a trans steering committee for Hillary, and I was a little reluctant. I was a member of the steering committee for several months before I even let it known that I was a Hillary person, and I ran as a Hillary delegate. I was put on the DNC credentials committee, and I was also on the committee that I can't think of the word. Where you
resolutions and platforms.
No, that's the state committee. It's about delegate selection process. On who's going to be a delegate if they're not elected. We place people to be elected against people that are the same. You know what I'm saying. But anyway, get away from that. That's not what this is about. The DCCC in the last few years has came in and flexed their muscle, moved people in from out of state, set people up to run for office against local people. Mm-hmm. And I've always said, like Tom, the mechanic down the street, or Brenda, the hairdresser, the grassroots people, when they want to run for office, they get wiped out. The DCCC comes in and pours money into a person we don't even know who they are, and they don't even participate in the party. We have one right here in Mecklenburg County right now. I'm not going to say his name, but he never participated in the party before, and all of a sudden, boom, there he is. He's got over $1 million in his war chest. And a lot of these candidates that are local that's running for the Congress, they barely squeaking by. And Wendy's got the same problem in the second. There's a person out there that's endorsed by the DCCC. And, they're all over the state, the 8th Congressional District. There was a fellow that moved from California to Mecklenburg County. He lived in Mecklenburg County, I think, for about a year or so. And then he moved to Cabarrus County to run in the 8th Congressional District. And we don't know him from Adam.
It seems to be a pretty common thing. When I spoke with CFAR candidate Johnny Axum, he mentioned his opponent was from the county there, but he had moved away for 20 years and came back and just had a lot of money.
The CCC is handpicking people. They're planting people in our state, in our community, for us to vote for. And they're saying, you got to vote for this person. This is the person that we pick. This is the person that we think is going to win. No, we in Charlotte, if you noticed the last municipal election, we cleaned house. We elected Democrats almost straight across the board, but we handpicked our own people. We didn't have outside interference.
So
the ones that lost had outside interference. Excuse me.
So what was it that made you change your mind, other than seeing this when you were a delegate and working for Hillary.
Well, when I got hurt in Philadelphia at the Democratic National Convention, I was admitted in the hospital in whatever that little town is that we were staying at. I forgot. But I'm laying in the hospital room, and the first night of the convention started, and it came on the news. The convention came on the TV in my room, and they said that Debbie Wasserman Schultz was not going to gavel the DNC. And I'm like, what? And then they started talking about Hillary and the DNC and about the Debbie Wasserman Schultz all colluding together against Bernie Sanders. And you know, I grew up in a world where everybody has the right to run for public office if they want to, and they should not be interfered with. And, you know, I didn't particularly like Bernie because he hollered loud like my father. And that, you know, I didn't like my father because he screamed at me all the time. And Bernie was screaming on TV, and I didn't like him. But the fact is that he got screwed out of his constitutional right to run for public office. And I didn't like that. Mm-hmm. So that's why I didn't support Hillary anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I think we should touch on a big issue that's been that went on here in North Carolina, and that is HB2. As I know you guys will have a lot to say about that. And I do actually, before we go to that, bear with me just a moment. I hope this works well. I want to share the screen for just a moment. It was a picture, a sign that was on the bathroom door at the Cave, which is a bar here in Chapel Hill. So 1 second, just see what. Here we go. Hopefully that will work properly. I hope you can read that.
Oh yeah, I remember that sign.
You can go in this one, or you can go in that one, unless your name is Pat McCrory. Okay. In which case,
hey, this is a family channel.
Okay. I just saw that.
Yeah, right. It's not a family channel, but okay. Just 1 sec.
Kelly, one thing I can say about that sign is I was running for...
Wendy wrote it.
I was running for county commissioner in 2016, and I did 900 interviews at the DNCC at the convention just because of House Bill 2. So somebody today on Twitter said I have no name recognition whatsoever. And
I did 902 interviews. There you go.
Yeah. I did 900 of them, Janice. And during the convention, now Janice would have helped me, but unfortunately she got hurt. But I'll tell you this much:
I got shot. Yeah.
I said to the governor, then Governor McCrory, I said one day we were in Benson, and I said, "Thank you very much for your contribution." He goes, "What contribution?" I said, "Well, you saved me millions of dollars in media coverage because, lo and behold, you passed House Bill 2, and I got more media coverage from more medias and international medias than I could have ever bought." So, you know, House Bill 2 didn't affect me as much as it affected Janice. Janice has some really good stories about how in Mecklenburg, you know, she said, "Come on, come into the bathroom and pee with me." Janice was definitely an advocate in Mecklenburg County for the peeing. I didn't have that issue in Johnston County. We don't have public bathrooms. You know, we have outhouses still. So that's what somebody said to me the other day. Because, you know, I live in such a rural area. But I didn't have the issues that my friend Janice. So maybe Janice can talk a little bit on House Bill 2, because I know.
Well, House Bill 2. Well, we were fighting over that, and I marched the sidewalk many a time by myself with a sign. But you know, when Roy Cooper got elected, he ran on the premise that he was going to stand with the LGBT community. And next thing I know, he's standing there signing a compromise of HB 142 so that he can have a basketball game. And, you know, just to heck with us, you know, the transgender community, now we got to wait 4 years, you know, to even think about having a right to go pee. And that ain't right. You know, what's he going to do in 2020? He's going to come back to the same old pitch and say, oh, I'm going to stand with y'all. Y'all vote for me. Give me money for my campaign. Well, guess what, Roy Cooper? You ain't getting a nickel from me.
And you know, House Bill 2 divided the party as well. Just to let you know, it was already a division between Hillary and the Bernie people, but House Bill 2 actually divided the LGBT community because it affected the transgenders and organizations who will stay nameless. At least for me, I will say they'll stay nameless. They rode our back and raised a lot of money off the transgenders in North Carolina. And that should be shame on them.
Who was at the Human Rights Campaign?
I said I would stay out of it, Janice. I wasn't naming names.
Oh, okay. Well, I ain't out of it. The Human Rights Campaign, Equality in North Carolina, made millions of dollars off the backs of transgender people. We didn't get a dime. The transgender organizations in this state that walked the picket line, that made the signs, that went out there in the rain and walking up and down the sidewalk, they didn't get a dime. And all that money went to Washington, D.C. for the Human Rights Campaign and Equality in North Carolina so they could pay themselves a good payroll.
I have a question actually for both of you. If the DCC and the Democratic Party elites establishment are so hell-bent against candidates like you, populists and progressives, why are you running as Democrats? Why not run as an independent or a Green or some other avenue?
Well, you want me to answer that first? I'll tell you the reason why I support the Democratic Party, because my father was a Democrat. I grew up in a Democrat family in 1950. I grew up knowing by my father and about the blue collar workers, and that was the blue collar party. Now you can't find anybody who got greasy hands in the Democratic Party because they're all gone. But the fact is that when I grew up, being a Democrat was something to be proud of because we stood for each other. We stood together and we worked together to elect Democrats. I was in the time of John F. Kennedy, and I'm one of the few people alive today that actually got to see John F. Kennedy. And, you know, our party just started crumbling. Bad in 1985 is when it started going downhill. You know, the years of Reagan. That's when we started losing it.
Now, Victor, to answer the question from my point of view as a candidate, I'll be direct and very honest.
Please.
I thought many times about running as an independent and unaffiliated, but I am so involved with the Democratic Party in North Carolina for change. I was one of the initial interim officers of the Progressive Caucus. I'm an officer of the Labor Caucus. I'm a member of the LGBT, and I'm the president of the Johnston County chapter. I'm a member of the Senior Dems. I'm an SEC member. So I want to change what the party looks like from the inside. And I grew up in a household where my great-grandmother was the municipal chair for the Democratic Party, and my grandmother was the municipal chair for the Republican Party. And I admit, you know, this is one of my favorite lines, and people laugh at me. I said, you know, I was born neither male nor female. I'm a vanishing twin, so I actually was born with both male and female. But I was raised as a boy, and I was raised to be honest and truthful, and I was a Republican. And then I saw the light, and I decided to transition to become the person I am today. And I got a really nasty letter from the county party chair in Monmouth County, New Jersey, who said, hey, just want to let you know, I understand that you want to be a girl. Maybe you should be a Democrat, too, because you're not welcome here anymore. So I said, thank you very much, wrote him back a very nice response that says, don't worry, I will be a Democrat. And and don't forget that. You told me to go be a Democrat. But the reason I'm a Democrat is because it's the party of the tent. It is the party where everyone, thanks to people like Janice Covington Allison, who helped write the preamble that allows all of us to be equal. And it's the only party right now that has that in there. It's so, being an independent, you don't have the same power as to being a member of the party.
Is it difficult to get on the ballot as an independent? Is that harder, or is it obviously you have to win your primary? But how difficult is it to get on the ballot as a primary candidate?
There's two ways. You can either run as a libertarian, because that's the accepted unaffiliated party, or you can get a petition going to just be a U. And both of them are very difficult, because I don't agree with everything the libertarians stand for. I used to, but they've went so far right that it's scary today as well. And the other thing is, I want to be able to talk to voters. I don't look at your party affiliation. That's why I like the contract, because the contract is 63% or better, and neither one of the parties have 63%. So you know it's crossing the party line. And that to me is a very important thing, Victor, because I want to represent all the people, not just this small group or this group. And I can't do that as an independent. I definitely couldn't do it as an independent. And it wouldn't be in my heart. My heart right now sits with the Democratic Party. For as much as I disagree with a lot of things they've done,
Michael, get him.
I'm still a Democrat.
And when is your primary?
My primary is on the 8th of May. And, it's like right around the corner, and I'm fighting every single day.
Yeah, I'll be sharing here with everyone else, but what I tell candidates whose primary is coming up, no more than a month before your primary, you're going to want to reach out to me, because I have the database for the people who took the Burn Your Bus pledge in North Carolina, so I will reach out to them, ask them to donate to your campaign. And,
right now we're having a big problem, and I'm going to be honest with you, Victor. Our problem is because of one thing and one thing only, and that is the establishment. The establishment does not want a transgender representative.
Shocking. Right? The Republicans kicked you out. The Democrats don't want you representing the people.
Victor, it's a terrible thing when we look at. You can't see it. Maybe if I turn my computer a little bit, you'll see it, just barely. You see over here in my corner, there's an American flag. That American flag doesn't know Republican or Democrat. That American flag does not know. And when I was in the military, I swore to uphold the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the United States doesn't know Republican or Democrat. It knows people. And it's about time that the People's House, the United States Congress, the House of Representatives, belongs to the people. And it's about time we return it to the people, because it is an embarrassment. I have relatives in England who are highfalutin members of society, and they rub it into me all the time. Why don't you just come back to England? And I'm like, oh, we left there for a reason, and we're still fighting for that same reason. And that reason is equality, the right to be equal. The Equal Rights Amendment. A lot of people don't understand what that was about. But Victor, it was about the ability to, regardless of our skin color, our gender, our age, our disability, our sexual orientation, the right to be equal. And that's why I run. And I will continue to run, even if I lose this time around. Wendy May is not going away.
So what can you both do to fight the establishment in North Carolina? I mean, you're seeing this. Maybe they're a little bit less or more accepting than the Republican Party, but what's the answer?
Don't go away.
I'll tell you, the answer is don't go away. Before I moved here, Janice was the only SEC member that was of anything. When I moved here, I immediately got involved in the county party. I ran for SEC. I became actively involved in the LGBTQ organization. Janice is a role model for me. I look to her. because not only is Janice a Vietnam veteran, not only does Janice and my paths cross so many times in our lives based upon our history, but Janice is a true friend. Janice tells you how it is, when it is, and where it is. And if you don't like it, she'll tell you it again. So, having a person like Janice as a mentor and as a person who I look to, I know when Janice says something, Janice means it from her heart. Sometimes we argue like sisters, but I love her like a sister. Even though sometimes she irritates me like my sister did, Janice is a true American hero.
Well, let me tell you something. When I came out as Janice for the first time to the party, I walked into the 8th Congressional District, which I was part of the 8th. I was part of the 8th for 40 years. I walked into the 8th Congressional District, and everybody looked at me like I just walked off the Jerry Springer show. They didn't know who I was. Now, if I'd have walked in there in a suit and tie, they would have recognized me right away. And the only way I got elected as a delegate, and that was at large, district, for the DNC in 2012, was I stood there and told them who I was. I said, guess what, people? Y'all standing here looking at me. Well, here's who I am, and here's who I was. I was the 3rd vice chair of the Cabarrus County Democratic Party in 1983 and 84. I ran for county commission, but they didn't recognize me when I came out. The thing is during the DNC, I was fine. After the DNC, I went to join the Democratic Women's Association, and I was turned down. I was told to join the men's auxiliary or men's whatever league or whatever it is of the Democratic women, and I went ballistic, of course, and that got resolved. Then I was asked to nominate a person for county chair, and I was all excited about it, and I wrote a nice nomination speech. And then 2 days before I was to nominate this person at the county convention, I was told, well, Janice, would you be okay with you if you had seconded the nomination? And I said, yeah, it'd be okay. I said, who's going to do the nomination? Well, we don't have anybody yet. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to second a nomination to somebody that we ain't got yet to make that nomination. And I'm like, I'm all livid about this. And, I'm like, okay. And so I didn't do the second nomination either. I didn't do the nomination or I didn't second it either one. And then it went on down the road. A month later, they asked me to help them get ready for the Christmas party. I looked at them. I said, "Do you think you some kind of fool or something?" I said, "I ain't going to help you get ready for the Christmas party." I was mad. That hurt to be told that I couldn't nominate somebody because some of the elders in the party wouldn't think it was right for a transgender person to do the nomination. And that's the kind of battle I had to battle, before any other transgender came along. Back in 2011, 2010, 2012, all the way up to about 2014, I was the only transgender in existence.
In North Carolina.
Walking around in the street and stuff. I was the only one around.
Well, the elders in the party, I don't know, they'll go by the wayside eventually. It's encouraging, even in a purple state like North Carolina, that the younger generations just really don't care. It's not an issue. They're accepting it. But I can imagine in certain parts, of this state what it's like.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I'll tell you something. I can go to any part in this state alone, walk into any country store, anywhere in this state. It doesn't make any difference if it's Greenville. It doesn't make any difference if it's Hickory or anywhere. If I stopped at a gas station, there's 4 or 5 guys sitting around chewing tobacco and smoking cigarettes and carrying on, talking about stuff. I'll stop and talk to them. I have sat and talked to these people about football, about baseball, about basketball, about politics in general. And then when we get done talking, some of them's actually stood up and gave me a hug goodbye. And, you know, education is what does it. And then when you have to deal with a whole gang of bigots in one room, it's kind of difficult to do.
Oh, yeah.
But like I say, I can travel all over the state and not have a single problem.
Yeah, I think it's when it's individuals, it's different. When people get in big groups, that's when the bigotry comes out, I think, more.
Well, I had no trouble doing that either because, you know, they have to answer to me.
I saw a couple of videos of you where you were, I don't remember, I think it was in Charlotte, it must have been, talking about HB2 and all the angry people sitting behind you with their signs, and you just kept on talking.
Oh, yeah, I was called names and stuff like that by one of the main ringleaders who was with Tammy Fitzgerald and NC Values was Flip Benham. And out in the lobby, he said to me, he said, in front of a whole bunch of people, he said, Janice, you need to stay out of the restroom. There's little girls in there. And I looked at him, and I was being interviewed by one of the local channels. I left the camera and went after him. And people was holding me back. I wanted to kill him on the spot. And I looked up, and I had 10 police surrounding me, waiting for me to touch him.
You mean that's not legal in North Carolina?
Huh?
You can't kill people in North Carolina?
And you kill people? Yeah, it's legal. You know, especially in the mountains.
Have you seen Trey Crowder, the liberal redneck? Have you seen any of his videos?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen his one about the bathroom bill?
It's
just
great.
I love the way he handles it. It's really funny.
Well, I got to tell you guys my opinion.
Well, you know, I was invited to when Hillary and Obama come to Charlotte. I was invited as a guest, the VIP on the VIP, whatever. It was in the Charlotte Observer. But I went in. I used the ladies' room right in front of them. Make no difference to me. And I even challenged Pat McCurry on Channel 3, WBT. I told him, I said, look, I'm going to be at the Government Center tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, and I'm going to use the ladies' room, and I want you to come down and arrest me. I didn't see him. He didn't come around. He was too scared.
Like Wendy, you're having a hard time getting a word in edgewise here. What was it you're trying to say?
You know, Janice is Janice. You know, but one of my big arguments about this whole race is I'm a New Deal progressive. Why don't you focus on that instead of my gender, instead of who I'm sleeping with, or my sexual orientation? Why don't we talk about real issues? And you know, it's really hard. My opponents during this primary don't want to talk about issues. They don't want to talk about how they voted Republican in 2012 and 2016. I can see their argument about 2016 because they wanted to spoil the ballot. But in 2012, we had an incumbent president who was a Democrat. And it happens to also be the same time that the famous signer of House Bill 2 got elected. And this opponent of mine pulled a Republican ballot. Did you vote
he
for
ran against Walter Dalton. Is the reason he got elected. Walter Dalton didn't have a chance.
And
so did you pull a Republican ballot in 2012 to vote for McCrory? That's why I have to ask. I have to ask these questions, the hard questions, because it's not about my gender or Janice's gender that should ever be the issue. It's about what I stand for and why I stand for those things. And, you know, I'm a New Deal progressive. I'm proud to be a Democrat. I'm proud to be a progressive. I'm proud to have a plan. That's why when people ask me about CFAR, I'm like, hey, yeah, you know what? It's better than sliced bread because it tells you the facts. It takes away the smoke and mirrors. It takes away the guesswork. It takes away the hiding behind, I'm going to do this. There's so many people that hide behind their party affiliation and don't want to face the fact that if the same thing happens over and over again and you keep allowing it, then you're just as much a part of it. And, you know, look who we have in the White House. You know, we have a person in the White House that is nothing more than a professional actor. And I should know, I'm a member of the Screen Actors Guild. Okay? He is a professional actor. Just like I recently heard on the Country Western's radio station here in the Raleigh area, where the guy who was the star of Lizard Lick Towing is now running for the Wake County Board of Commissioners. You know, you just kind of go, really? You know, just be thankful you don't live in Wake County. But I mean, you know, here you got a guy who lives in Lizard Lick, North Carolina, a reality star, and now he wants to be well, I know this county, I know every foot of it. Is that what you're running on? Because that's what I'm running against. People like that. People who want to hide behind, oh, well, I ran for lieutenant governor twice. Yeah, just forget to tell people you lost both times. Or, you know, I'm a millionaire. And my argument, going back to what I said earlier, is neither one of them signed a contract. And neither one of them have any platforms. Well, I shouldn't say that. The millionaire has stole the progressive platforms and said, oh, I don't want to be supported. And I like these little things that I play with sometimes. I'm going to be supported. I don't want to be supported by any PACs. I want you to trust me. And then turns around and gets supported by a PAC, not just a regular PAC, a super PAC. One that's supporting Dan McCready in the 9th District, Kathy Menning in the 13th District, Ken Romilly in the 2nd District, and Connor Lamb, who's running in Pennsylvania. All of them have one thing in common, a 4-letter word, DCCC, because they are all DCCC supported candidates, and every one of them have a history of being a Republican.
Yeah, they're neoliberals. I've asked Connor to sign the contract, and of course he won't get back to me. So,
of course not.
I don't think any neoliberal will sign this contract. You talked about trust.
Trust.
The contract eliminates the need for trust, right? You made a binding commitment that voters can hold you to in a way that your opponents just can't even hold a candle to. They can't be trusted because they won't sign a contract like this, and they won't sign a contract like this because they're not trustworthy, and they know they're not.
Listen, I have something that I talk about all the time, and that is my moral compass. When I was a young kid, my dad died when I was 9 years old, and one of the last things my father gave me was a compass, and it was his compass from when he was in Korea. And my father said, always go true north. If you always go true north, you never have to worry. It's like when you are a person of integrity, you don't lie. You know why? Because it's easier for me to remember the truth than have to remember the lie I just told you. And then have to remember that lie again and a lie again. So the truth is my moral compass, Victor. And this contract holds me morally and legally binded to those people that I want to represent. Because I don't want to just say it, I want to do it. And that makes a difference. Because mouth, beep, 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 as my friend said, you know, Bugs Bunny had a great mouth and moved it really fast. Okay? And the Roadrunner ran real fast and never got killed. It's the same thing here. I'm willing to put my signature and my mouth on the line. And that's why I signed that contract. And only a fool wouldn't sign it because it's got bipartisan support.
Right. Yeah.
Well, it has to. We do have one Republican so far who
that's good.
Signed it.
That's good.
So
There's hope for that part.
Support.
Yeah.
Well, it has to. We do have one Republican so far who
that's good.
It's okay.
Good.
So do we want?
There's hope for that part. Janice, there's feedback.
I don't know what's happening. Hold on.
It's okay.
Word up. I'm gonna fix it.
Just mute. There you go.
There.
So in the last couple minutes, do we want to see if anybody has any questions?
Oh, I'd love to take questions.
I'm not on the page. So
Okay, well, let me see.
I would like to make a statement to Teresa. I noticed that she made an observation that I needed, me and Wendy both, I guess, needed wardrobe people and makeup people. Well, to begin with, Teresa, it's my bedtime, and I'm on here tonight. And when I get done, I'm going to bed. And every good girl takes her makeup off before she goes to bed.
And I've been sick for 3 days, so Teresa, I'm sorry I don't look the best for you, but you know what? What I look like has nothing to do with my issues.
There you go.
Yeah, I think we've had enough of, we can have $10,000 pantsuits or whatever. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, like Hillary suit, okay. That's a Hillary suit.
Or a Sarah Palin makeover. What was that they spent on her wardrobe?
Listen, anybody that would like to send me a $10,000 makeover, I'd be very glad to accept it with not a single problem.
They probably said I wouldn't need it worse than you.
Oh, Janice.
I'm sitting here in my 90.
I'm sitting here in my living room, relaxed. I was at the World Trade Center for 168 days, and I have 9/11 asthma. So when I get a little cold, it's not a little cold. So,
Well, I hope you feel better, and thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything else you guys want to say, or just in closing, or anything we didn't touch on that's really important to you?
Well, I think that people are starting to realize that transgender people are just people like they are. We have the same wants and the same likes. We want to live the American dream like everybody else. And, there's no reason in the world why people can't get along. When I was talking about Tammy Fitzgerald and NC Values, the reason is because Flip Benham, who's the most notorious anti-LGBT preacher out there on the street with his Bible, him and I started dialogue, and we started understanding each other. And that's how you educate people. Mm-hmm. You get them to know you, and they understand. Mm-hmm. And next thing you know, you treat each other like human beings, and that's the way it's supposed to be. You might not fall in love with the person that might be a different sexual orientation or gender identity, but at least you can get along with that person.
Wendy, you?
I'll just repeat what I say often. I say it often. I may not be quote unquote the model who appears on the runway.
I am.
But thank you, Janice. But I'll tell you that I am the only candidate in the 2nd Congressional District concerned about the poor, the working poor, the working family. I am the only person in the 2nd Congressional District that cares about the voters. And that's why I have a contract.
Well, we appreciate that. Thank you for joining us tonight. I want to remind viewers next week of our conversation with Jamaro Thomas. We'll be discussing One Party Planet. You can find that political pamphlet online. Just search One Party Planet. It will take you a couple hours. It's 60 pages. But reading it before the interview with Jamaro will give you a much better basis on which to understand exactly what it is we're talking about as we go back and forth. Everyone, thank you for joining us tonight. I think it was a stimulating conversation.
Thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you for having crazy Janice. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Good night.